I extend my greetings to each and every Indian present here and to all friends of India. To mark a befitting start to today's proceedings, I would like to invite Mr. Spyrou and Mr. Ratish Parmeshwaran for a very unique India-Australia fusion performance of didgeridoo and mridangam. It's called Unity of Tal.
Suvidai the great honour to propose a toast to the President and the people of the Republic of India.
Ladies and gentlemen, the military band will now play the Indian national anthem. Please feel free to join in and sing with them.
Excellencies, ladies and gentlemen, I now have the privilege and the honor to propose a toast to His Majesty the King, to the people of Australia, and to Australia-India friendship. Cheers.
Ladies and gentlemen, the military band will now play the Australian national anthem. Please join in.
Namaskar, Sat Shri Akal, Salam Alaikum, very good evening to all of you. I have a particularly pleasing sequence of acknowledgements to please bear with me. Your Excellencies, the Honorable Andrew Barr, Chief Minister of ACT, Dean of the Diplomatic Corps, the Ambassador Ms. Pavlovich, my colleagues and fellow High Commissioners and Ambassadors, and I see so many of my friends here in the Diplomatic Corps. The Honourable Jenny McAllister, MP and Minister for Emergency Response of Australia. The Honourable Tim Watts, MP and Assistant Minister for Foreign Affairs. We have been meeting in various cities of Australia. Why not in capital? The Honourable Suzanne Lee, MP, Deputy Leader of the Opposition, Shadow Minister for Women, Industry, Skills and Training. Senator the Honourable Simon Birmingham, Shadow Minister for Foreign Affairs and Leader of Opposition in the Senate. The Honourable Kevin Hogan, MP, Shadow Minister for Trade and Tourism. The Honourable Dr. Andrew Charlton, MP, Co-Chair of Parliamentary Friendship Group for India and Special Envoy for Cyber Security and Digital Resilience. Honourable Senators, members of House of Representatives of the Federal Parliament of Australia and members of the ACT Legislature. Mr. Greg Moriarty, the Secretary in the Department of Defence. Admiral David Johnston, AC, Chief of Defence Forces. Ms. Michelle Chan, Deputy Secretary, South and Southeast Asia, and Group Head of the Office of Southeast Asia in DFET, Mr. Arthur Spyrou, Chief of Protocol, other distinguished members of the Diplomatic Corps, members of governments of Australia and ACT, DG of International Solar Alliance, Dr. Ajay Mathur, who is visiting Australia with his delegation, and I'm very privileged to receive him here. Excellencies, distinguished leaders and representatives of industry, business, academia, and of course, Indian diaspora, esteemed guests, dear friends. It's a particular pleasure for me to add my own welcome to all of you to celebrate India's independence on its 77th anniversary. I also would like to express my gratitude to all of you for joining us in such large numbers that our hearts are overfilled but not the hall. Today morning, as the sun came out over the Canberra skies from behind the clouds, I was privileged to hoist the Indian national flag at the High Commission of India in the friendly presence of members of Indian diaspora. And here today, Excellencies, ladies and gentlemen, I have the great privilege and honor to celebrate India's independence on its 77th anniversary with all of you, the friends and families of India. Why I say family? Because from ancient times, in our part of the world, we have believed that we celebrate happiness, we celebrate festivals, we celebrate joy with our family. And that's how it increases manifold. India's value, India's civilizational tradition of believing in Vasudhaiva Kutumbakam, the whole world is but one family, is here manifest in your presence, who are present here to celebrate India's 77th anniversary of independence. Thank you once again for joining us in such large numbers. Or indeed the journey of India after its independence, which has accelerated as a rapid and unprecedented transformation in the past decade. It would suffice to say that even before the dawn of history, India set out on a timeless quest. Centuries and millennia since then have recorded India's triumphs and indeed India's trials and tribulations. But never, Excellencies, ladies and gentlemen, never through the course of history, India lost sight of that goal, that quest, or never forgot those ideals and values which have always given India its real inner strength. And therefore today, India's aspirations to be a developed country by 2047, when independent India turns 100 years, is not an ambition pursued in isolation, but in partnership with the world, with our roots firmly in our civilizational values and our eyes steadily on contemporary challenges. And therefore, Excellencies, ladies and gentlemen, when Prime Minister Modi today in his traditional address from the ramparts of Red Fort, when he announced 10 transitional goals for India, from manufacturing to skilling, to green hydrogen, to green jobs, they are the goals to be pursued in partnership with the world. And India today stands in the Committee of Nations, not just as the most populous country in the world, not just the largest democracy in the world, which has seen a mammoth, unprecedented election, which record only we can beat in future. The fastest growing among the large and emerging economies, among the largest hub of innovation, startups and fintech, but also a trusted partner for its friends, first responder to those who need it, a symbol of stability in unpredictable world, a voice of reason and moderation in a world ravaged with conflicts, but equally importantly, a voice for Global South, which we have been privileged and continue to be privileged to be during our G20 presidency and after it. Excellencies, ladies and gentlemen, our partnership, our comprehensive strategic partnership with Australia is something that every Indian and I mean 1.4 billion Indians deeply cherish. I don't wish to steal the thunder from Honorable Assistant Minister or indeed the Chief Minister of ACT who will speak after me. But I do wish to mention that this all-encompassing partnership is just not a relationship between two countries, but it is, as the Aussies would call it, a bridge. And a very fine example of this we saw just at the beginning of this program, Excellencies, ladies and gentlemen, when two Indians played an Australian and an Indian instrument in perfect harmony. And that indeed, to every Australian and Indian, is the Australia-India mateship. From economy to education to entrepreneurship, from skills to sports, from Antarctica to space, I would say that not even sky is the limit for this rapidly growing partnership which encompasses all endeavors of human activity. Our shared vision and values, not just for Indo-Pacific, but for a rule-based order, ensure that the benefits of this rapidly growing ties are not just for the people of India and Australia, but indeed for the Indo-Pacific region and for the whole world. I must mention that Indian diaspora in Australia, which is around 1 million and growing, is indeed a living bridge between the two countries. I would like to appreciate the warm welcome they have received by their Australian colleagues and friends. And indeed, I would like to thank the Government of Australia and the government of all authorities in Australia for openly welcoming Indian diaspora with open arms. I note their significant contribution, and I warmly welcome their contribution to not only the Australian society and economy, but also to Australia-India ties. Here, ladies and gentlemen, just outside in the foyer, you would see some Indian companies, some famous global corporates. They are there just not to showcase what they are, but to point to a direction which is less known. And I will seek your indulgence just to point out. Many of these Indian companies are supporting Australian sports. HCL Technologies, well, they are the sponsor of the Australian cricket team. There's another company, I think, over here which supports the volleyball team. Infosys supports the Australian Open. So corporate India is now partnering not only corporate Australia, but sports as well. And that's an area where Australia and India look to future to shape their relationship. Excellencies, ladies and gentlemen, India has pursued as a civilizational value the path of harmony, both internal as well as with the outer world. The father of the nation, Mohandas Karamchand Gandhi, Mahatma Gandhi, once said that there is enough in this world for everyone's need, but not for everyone's greed. 2 years ago, Prime Minister Shri Narendra Modi, together with the Honorable Secretary General of the United Nations, launched the mission LIFE. Capital I, L, small I, capital F, capital E, Lifestyle for Environment. 4 years before that, in 2018, the Prime Minister and the Honorable President of France had together in New Delhi launched the International Solar Alliance, a force indeed for global good. As I seek your permission to leave this stage, with profuse thanks to you, I would like to invite to the stage the Director General of International Solar Alliance, Dr. Ajay Mathur, to introduce to you what this alliance is doing for transformation in the face of severe challenge of climate change. Thank you very much, Excellencies, ladies and gentlemen.
Your Excellencies, ladies and gentlemen, I can't tell you what a pleasure it is to be here in Canberra today. Both Australia and India are founding members of the International Solar Alliance, and we are very proud of the partnership that we have with both countries, as with France. Ladies and gentlemen, as the film said, we are the only intergovernmental treaty organization, and today we have something like 119 signatories, 100 full members. but it's the only alliance that is based in the developing world, in India to be particular. What we would like is that all of us have a solar future, that in our lives, solar energy becomes the energy of choice, not in a long time, but in our lifetimes. It is possible. The kinds of examples that you just saw on the screen tell you of the kinds of opportunities that are there, whether it is a solar pump in a otherwise desiccated place in Africa, or whether it is a hospital which is now powered by solar energy in Fiji, or whether it is a school that is powered by solar energy in Venezuela or in Guyana, to the Solar Festival on the 5th and 6th of September. I again thank you. I thank you, High Commissioner Baglay, for this opportunity to share this shining example of our cooperation with all of you. Thank you very much.
Everyone. Dal Ngunnawal, which in the language of the Ngunnawal people means this is Ngunnawal country. And I pay my respects to elders past, present and emerging. Thank you very much, High Commissioner, for the very kind invitation to say a few words this evening. I welcome my federal parliamentary colleagues, particularly Minister McAllister and Assistant Minister Watts. Acknowledge Simon Birmingham, the leader of the opposition in the Senate, and Susan Ley, the deputy leader, and other federal members. I won't go through everyone, other than to make the observation that I've not seen this many federal politicians in Canberra on a Thursday night. So to the team at the Indian High Commission, congratulations on having such a popular and successful event. Your Excellencies, ladies and gentlemen, with a particular acknowledgement to His Excellency Mr. Gopal Baglay for the staging of this event. It's a wonderful occasion to acknowledge a day of immense significance to every Indian. It symbolises the dawn of a new era of self-governance, of sovereignty and of democracy. It represents the freedom of the Indian people to determine their own destinies and futures. And on the 15th of August 1947, Prime Minister Nehru raised the national flag above the Red Fort in Delhi, officially declaring India to be an independent nation. Now, you'll forgive me as a Canberran for wanting to lay claim to the fact that I believe the first outdoor unfurling of India's national flag outside of India was unfurled here at India House in Canberra. By the then High Commissioner in front of over 300 guests. So it is wonderful to have a similar crowd this evening for the 77th anniversary. A significant occasion for all after years of relentless struggle, of non-violent resistance and sacrifices made by many freedom fighters and leaders. To Canberra's Indian diaspora, the largest diaspora in our city, we appreciate you sharing your rich history and traditions with all Canberrans, and your ongoing commitment to build a community that embraces diversity and makes Canberra a vibrant and welcoming city that is enriched by the significant contribution of our local Indian Australian community. The Australian Capital Territory Government is committed to ensuring that the many different cultures in our city continue to grow together and thrive. And I would like to take this opportunity to acknowledge the invaluable contribution of Canberra's Indian community to the success of Australia's national capital. My sincere thanks to Your Excellency for the invitation to celebrate this evening and this very meaningful occasion with you all tonight. Thank you.
For today's event, Assistant Minister for Foreign Affairs, the Honourable Tim Watts, to deliver his remarks.
Thank you, good evening, and let me begin by acknowledging the Ngunnawal people as the traditional custodians of this land and extend my respects to any Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander peoples who join us here tonight. As His Excellency High Commissioner Baglay has already said, there are many distinguished guests here to acknowledge. I won't acknowledge anyone, but let me give a few special shout-outs at risk of paying a price for that. Let me acknowledge the Chief Minister Andrew Barr and thank him for looking after us federal politicians and tolerating our presence in his city. Let me acknowledge all of my parliamentary colleagues, including the Shadow Minister for Foreign Affairs, some in Birmingham, and then the Deputy Leader of the Opposition, Susan Ley, as true reflection that the strength of the relationship between Australia and India is truly bipartisan. Let me acknowledge the Chair of the Australia-India Parliamentary Friendship Group, my dear friend Andrew Charlton. He and I battle it out for the biggest Indian-Australian diaspora in our electorates. The Australian Bureau of Statistics says that his is bigger at the moment, but my jalebi is better. Let me also acknowledge just one special parliamentary friend, my friend, Senator Jenny McAllister, a newly appointed Minister for Emergency Management. She is one of the stars of the Parliament, and I'm so happy to see her rising in our government. Let me acknowledge all of my friends from the Diplomatic Corps and the members of the Indian Australian diaspora community who join us here. A number from my electorate in Melbourne's West. Well done. Thank you for making the journey. High Commissioner Baglay said that the comprehensive strategic partnership between our countries was forged in mateship. Let me reciprocate and say that the Indian Australian diaspora community is forged in the spirit of Dosti. Now, let me begin by saying that in his brief time in his role, the High Commissioner Baglay and I have met in every corner of our enormous country. I have met him in Perth, I've met him in Sydney, I've met him in Darwin, I've met him in our nation's capital in Canberra. I have not met him in Adelaide, there is someone more senior than me there. And all of the topics that we discuss encompass the breadth of their relationship. We discussed satellite cooperation in the skies, we've discussed critical minerals cooperation beneath the earth. It truly reflects the breadth of our relationship, and I want to congratulate His Excellency the High Commissioner for his extraordinary energy and commitment to engaging with every part of our nation. Thank you. Now, the first time that I met His Excellency the High Commissioner, I told him then that he would be in for a very busy time during his time in Australia. And I also told him about an early touchstone of the Australia-India relationship that Australian ministers are now very fond of retelling, and I've discovered tonight that chief ministers are fond of retelling it as well. It's a story of the special role that Australia has had in the history of Indian independence. Due to the quirk of international time zones and Australia's rapid recognition of an independent India, the first outdoor unfurling of independent India's national flag, the Tiranga, took place at 34 Mugaway in Canberra, the Indian High Commission to Australia. Everyone can laugh and say that's the first time they've heard that story. It was a somewhat less dramatic backdrop, true, than the Red Fort and Nehru in New Delhi, but it's a very special location for all of us here in Australia and in Canberra nonetheless. Now, I'd like to say that I often say, because of this quirk of history, Australia was present at the creation of an independent India. And ever since, our national destinies have been entwined. Truly, in the 77 years since independence, Australia has had a habit of playing a role in many of the great moments of Indian national pride. Now, look, it's long been a cliche to talk about the shared passion of Australians and Indians for the contest on the cricket pitch. So let me go in a different direction. We're all recovering from a different quirk of time zones at the moment, that of watching the Paris Olympics late at night on the other side of the world. And I want to highlight our shared history on the field of my great first sporting love, field hockey. Now, only a year after independence, India competed in its first Olympics as an independent nation at the 1948 London Games, coming away with a gold medal in the men's hockey, one of 6 consecutive golds won by one of the most dominant sporting dynasties in world history, including, I should say, winning the gold medal game at the 1956 Melbourne Olympics, played in front of a massive crowd at the Melbourne Cricket Ground. It's a mark of the depth of the friendship between our countries that I can note here in this room today that while Australia pulled off its best Olympics result in Paris with 53 medals, in the men's hockey, led by the tournament's leading goal scorer, India's captain Harmanpreet Singh, India beat the Kookaburras 3-2 to record their first Olympic victory against Australia since the 1972 Munich Olympic Games, on their way to the bronze medal. But of course, the relationship between India and Australia on the hockey pitch extends beyond the playing field. Earlier this week, I had the honour of hosting icons of Indian filmmaking, Rani Mukherjee and Karan Johar, at Parliament House, a special meeting with the Prime Minister, and an event celebrating the 15th Indian Film Festival of Melbourne. And in his comments to the adoring crowd that came to our Parliament to see these icons, Karan noted that the iconic Indian film, Shak De India, in which Shah Rukh Khan, King Khan, plays a former Indian men's hockey player who becomes the coach of the Indian women's hockey team, a film that was filmed in both India and Australia. Indeed, the Hockey Centre in Royal Park, in my hometown of Melbourne, became the backdrop for a movie that has now become a powerful symbol of Indian national pride and sporting achievement. The world has now become used to hearing Indian athletes and sporting teams singing the movie's title track after a great victory, including Virat Kohli after the Indian cricket team's 2011 ODI World Cup victory. Now, I can't seem to recall him singing that after the 2023 ODI World Cup final. But it would be undiplomatic of me to explore the reasons for that in this forum. Was there a T20 World Cup recently? I don't remember that one.
We'll give you a test series today.
Instead, let me say that while Australian and Indian cricket fans are eagerly anticipating the start of the contest this year, the Border Gavaskar Trophy in this year's Summer of Cricket, and the rivalry between our teams on the pitch has never been greater, there have also never been more friendships between Australian and Indian players. Australian and Indian cricketers now regularly play side by side in T20 competitions around the world. Australians are a regular feature in the IPL, of course, and this year, extraordinarily, Australians and Indians even teamed up in the United States to play Major League Cricket together. I'm not sure anyone would have imagined in 1947, on the first anniversary of Indian independence, that 77 years later, Australians and Indians would be playing professional cricket with each other in Washington. As the world's largest democracy celebrates the occasion of its independence, I want to reflect on the close friendship between our two nations, the Dosti. The Australia-India partnership has never been as close, nor as active, nor as vital to our region. Since we elevated our relationship with India to a comprehensive strategic partnership in 2020, we have committed to boosting two-way trade and investment, increased our defence engagement and strengthened our community ties. The high tempo of engagement and visits over the past year, ably supported by His Excellency, underlines our mutual commitment to our partnership. In 2023, we had 19 Australian ministerial visits to India during its outstanding G20 presidency, and that's half of our national cabinet. You could get a quorum for an Australian ministry meeting. I've had the pleasure of visiting India in my role twice, and our Foreign Minister, Penny Wong, has met her counterpart, Dr. Jaishankar, more times than she has any other Foreign Minister. And in February, the Foreign Minister and I were pleased to host and welcome Minister Jaishankar in Perth for our jointly hosted Indian Ocean Conference, where we made real strides in advancing our cooperation and commitment to securing our shared region. Now, the next chapter of the Australia-India relationship requires even more ambition. One important signal of our commitment to this is the newly launched Centre for Australia-India Relations. The Centre also seeks to lift Australia's understanding of contemporary India and push for greater business engagement. This is an important objective as we negotiate an ambitious, comprehensive economic cooperation agreement. We know India is a vital partner to unlocking economic opportunities, and building on our India economic strategy, we're currently consulting on a new roadmap for Australia's economic engagement with India. And I've been really pleased to be able to chair a lot of those consultations It's really exciting work. This will concentrate our efforts for the next phase of our economic partnership. The roadmap will focus on some of what we've heard about tonight, the most prospective sectors and significant opportunities: clean energy and climate change, education, skills, tourism, agriculture and agricultural cooperation. Now, while the Australia-India relationship is important in itself, it's also critical to shaping the kind of region we want to live in. We share an ambition, an Indo-Pacific region that's peaceful, stable and prosperous, a region where no country dominates and no country is dominated. And that's why we work together so closely bilaterally and through the Quad. Now lastly, in conclusion, I want to turn to the growing number of Australians of Indian heritage, the diaspora. These communities are such an important part of modern Australia today, and our Australian Indian communities will continue to play a key role in bringing our two nations closer together. As part of our dynamic multicultural society, we're proud that 1 in 25 Australians claims Indian heritage, our fastest growing overseas born diaspora group. And you'll see it on show in Melbourne tomorrow night at the awards night of the 15th Annual Indian Film Festival of Melbourne, the biggest annual celebration of Indian film anywhere in the world outside of India. Of the last 15 years, the IFFM has attracted some of the biggest names in Indian filmmaking to our shores, including Priyanka Chopra, the Big B himself, Amitabh Bachchan, Rani Mukherjee, Karan Johar, and of course the King Khan himself, Shah Rukh Khan, reprising his set for Chak De India. Now this year, I'm really excited to meet the maestro, A.R. Rahman, the soundtrack to so many of those magnificent Indian films, and to get my Natu Natu on with Mr. Ram Charan, the star of a mega hit Triple R. Their presence and the scale of the Indian Film Festival of Melbourne is a symbolic of the deep connection and appreciation between our societies and cultures. Australians of Indian heritage continue to make significant contributions to all aspects of Australian life: business, civil society, academia, science, arts, sports and politics. The latter of which includes my colleagues here tonight, the Senator for West Australia, Mr. Varun Ghosh, the first Australian Senator to make his oath of office on the Bhagavad Gita, and the member for Swan, Ms. Anita Mascarenhas. I feel fortunate to experience the dynamism and talent of our Australian Indian communities every day in my own community. Around 1 in 4 of my voters was born in India. I see their contributions everywhere, whether it's in the delicious Indian Matai shops, where I was proud to host our Prime Minister, Albanese, recently to make some laddu last month. It's harder than it looks. From the food relief charity drives that spring up any time a disaster strikes our community. The family fun of heading to Holi to throw colour with people from all backgrounds and all stations of life. Or to the valuable perspectives of my Indian Australian staff members who wrote this speech. Indian Australian talent is everywhere. Australia's diversity truly is our national strength, and our government is committed to its relationship with India. We'll pursue new ways to make it even closer with India in the years ahead. And on that note, I thank the Indian High Commissioner for hosting us tonight and close by wishing all of you a very happy Independence Day.